Okay, I'm so glad you mentioned this, okay? So since licensing is not required, let me explain how licensing works. When you become a BCBA, right? We are providing medical treatment. So, especially a lot of states are requiring licensing, okay? So, as a licensed practitioner, because we are practitioners, as a RBT with a bachelor's degree, even a BCABA, you are not considered a practitioner because you do not meet the requirements, okay? That's why it's illegal for RBTs to be 1099 independent contractors, especially if they're providing ABA therapy, because you need to be supervised underneath a professional, which is the BCBA. So now when it comes to the educational consulting, right? I am a professional. I have the experience and I have the exposure in ABA. So I'm already a licensed practitioner. I have the exposure experience to be able to give my educational insight and share perspectives, especially since like I said, I've already had that phase of my life in a medical model. So now I can share that phase with families who are interested and others that need support, right? So as an RBT with a bachelor's degree in science, you are still an RBT. So you should not I would never suggest an RBT to go the educational consulting route because you still need to be licensed. I mean, you still need to be underneath the supervision of a BCBA, but for you to give your insight when you're not at the level of education or, there's so many variables that is out there. So for you to give insight from a professional's lens is not fair and actually could actually be very detrimental. And I was talking about the license in the state because, yes, we're not giving treatment, but as an educational consulting, as a BCBA, you already have the exposure and experience and you're already that professional, right? And let me explain something too, right? As an RBT, RBT is entry level. So a high schooler can become an RBT. Yes, you have your bachelor's in science, but also too, it's like, you can go, why haven't you gone for your BCABA or are you going to go get your BCBA? You see what I mean? And this is another thing too. The transition from RBT, ABA therapist, BT, whatever, to BCBA is not what you think. I'm telling you guys, like, you know that I worked in all the settings. And I remember when I was in the school, the teacher, my boss at the time, and the principal would have these meetings. And I remember the sped teacher, he would always have something to say. He's like, oh, let's start having a conversation. That's way above my pay grade, right? Because he's not lying in that sense. Once you have access and you have like leveled up, right? It's not that and I don't want to sound like, what is the word? Like, hold on, I gotta think of the word. Like ignorant, right? But when you reach these milestones, especially when it comes to your career and education levels, it opens doors. That's why you go to school to get a better paying job, right? Because the more education and experience and knowledge you have, the more money you could potentially make, especially when you have these credentials and you're certified and you're licensed with the state. Like all of that just shows like your validity, right? Like, oh yeah, they know their stuff. They've invested in themselves. They have the knowledge, experience, exposure, blah, blah, blah. And that's my whole point. It's like that transition from RBT, like, yes, I know when I was RBT, I felt like I knew everything, right? It's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I got this mastered, whatever. No, I'm telling you guys, like there are levels to access to different contingencies, which means access to different responsibilities and access to different higher ups. And then the higher you become, the more you're aware of all the different variables that contribute to like RBTs and services and this and this and that. So I'm telling you, like as RBT, even if with a bachelor's degree, like I would 100% not recommend you to ever give educational consults, especially in applied behavior analysis, because the science is so like there's so much to the science that you guys are not access to, especially if you don't have the baseline educational requirements that you receive in your master's program. Okay. But as an RBT, you can definitely still make money online. Like you guys can create resources, especially if you're an RBT that's familiar with making resources. Like, girl, make some resources, put a little stand store in your thing, start selling resources, start promoting your stuff. But being an educational, like the consulting part, absolutely should not suggest. But like I said, if you're online and you're an RBT, like ABA sis, she's an RBT. She got a whole community. She just launched her store. She's doing it. So there's ways for you to still make money and start your own business, but being educational consulting, providing educational insights on applied behavior analysis and behavior, I would not recommend. But like I said, there's different avenues that you can take. You could support other RBTs, right? Since you've been in the field for 3 years, if you feel like 3 years is enough, that you feel competent to like share, but also too, like you guys need a community. So you could be that community person. Start your own little RBT community online, but don't try to teach others a science where you're not a professional and master in. You know what I mean? And also too, guys, you have to be mindful, especially you try to consult with parents. Do not try to consult with parents, because you guys just need to know your place, all right? And I'm saying that because I want the best for you, and there's so many variables that you guys are not even considering that I know exist that you guys would not know until you actually experience the other end of being that licensed professional and certified, okay? So I'm literally telling you guys, no, skip the consulting route, okay? Unless you at least have a master's degree in ABA, because usually a lot of our learners, like if you cannot pass the exam, obviously you've invested the time, energy to go to school, get your supervision. And for some reason, there's some people that struggle with the test taking, right? My girlfriend, Vanessa, she took it in 3 different states. We were the 4th edition, and she had until the end of December to be able to pass her exam, and she failed it again. So now she has to retake do the course sequence and basically restart, and she's not doing that, right? But she's been in the field forever. She's had her supervision. Like, she literally just cannot fail this test. If she had failed, she would have become a BCBA. You see what I mean? So those that are like stuck, like you have the masters, and that's what I'm saying. Like, education comes into play with this, okay? So at the end of the name, you have an MS and ABA, right? A bachelor's in science. Science is science, but also it's not, you didn't have coursework in applied behavior analysis. That's the whole thing. So I hope this was helpful, okay? But like I said, you guys, there's still ways for y'all to make money, especially as an RBT. And like I said, go check out ABA Sis, because she's an RBC and she's doing her thing, but she ain't giving educational consults because she knows where she's at, right? But she definitely is supporting RBT. She'd be the first one. She's got good ass content, but like, go look what she's doing, because you guys could be doing the same thing. All right. So I hope this was better. And yeah, I hope it didn't sound mean, but I'm just worried. I don't want to see you guys fail. And also too, guys, you need to understand, this is a business, right? Like, people can sue you, especially, there's just so many variables that you guys don't know because you guys haven't reached that other side of the professional thing yet. But I get to be the one to share that insight and like tell you, like, listen, don't go that avenue, but there's ways to go around it in different ways. Okay. So yes. And I love it that you're motivated to start your business, but I don't think get consulting on applied behavioral analysis and like autism is, especially for parents, or yeah. So I hope that makes sense.